What's going on, 5-9 gamers? My name is Joewags, here to bring you another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel video here over on 5-9 Gaming. Be sure to check out 5-9 for all of your gaming, anime, entertainment needs. They've got Twitch, they've got YouTube, they've got it all, so please check them out. Today we're going to take a look at the Ritual Beast deck, and in Yu-Gi-Oh! The Ritual Beast deck is basically a fusion strategy style of deck. So in general, what the deck does is it creates fusion monsters without using polymerization by basically contact fusing with two other monsters. Basically, the deck consists of two main types of monsters. We have Ritual Beast Tamers and Spiritual Beast. So most of the fusions, you need one Spiritual Beast Tamer and one Ritual Beast monster to do the fusion, and they are just contact fusing. The other thing that's interesting about the deck is it involves using banished monsters. So what is unique about this deck is that the fusion monsters all have quick effects that essentially allow them to tag out by resummoning materials that were used in fusions that are banished. The great thing about it is the fusion requirements are fairly generic, so you can kind of use this to cycle in and out certain monsters that you want for certain situations. You can basically call in a fusion, use that fusion's effect, unsummon it, get two more back, and then refusion into something else that's maybe more offensive. So it's got a lot of fun, quick utility that way, right? So that's one main thing that it does. Now, the other generic thing that all of the monsters have is that they can only be special summoned once per turn, and they basically had to do that. Otherwise, you could just infinitely cycle summoning and unsummoning your fusion monster. So they kind of had to do that. So you have to pay attention when playing this deck how many times a monster was special summoned, because you're limited to how many times you can do the combos. Okay, so that being said, let's go in, let's look at the deck build. So I'm just going to go through the deck build. I'll very briefly explain the monsters, and then at the end we'll maybe do a little bit of gameplay and talk about some of the combos and kind of how it works, right? So the first monster we're going to play 3 of here is Ritual Beast Tamer Elder. This is kind of like one of the main combo starters of the deck. This is definitely, like, when you look at different team builds for this card, for this deck, this guy's usually at 3. Basically, when you normal summon him, you can get an additional normal summon of a Ritual Beast monster in addition, which is really good. Because the big thing with this deck, other than like Tamer, it doesn't have like built into it a lot of ways to just like spam out a bunch of monsters. So the problem you'll run into with this deck is if you can't get 2 Spiritual Beasts or Ritual Beasts out to do a fusion summon, then it's kind of difficult to get going. So you need to get that first summon going, then you're kind of cooking at that point, because then you can start cycling monsters, things like that. So getting Tamer early is very, very good. So yeah, basically his goal is you just summon him and he allows you to summon something else. So then we're going to play just one of Ritual Beast Tamer Laura, and we're going to play one of Ritual Beast Tamer Wen. These two kind of have very similar effects. Basically, for Wen, when you summon Wen, you can special summon a banished Ritual Beast. When you summon Laura, you can special summon a Ritual Beast from the graveyard. Okay, so you got one targeting the grave, one targeting the banished. We're also going to run Ritual Beast Tamer Zephyram Pilica. Zephyram Pilica is a Ritual Beast that came out a little bit later, kind of with the Zephyra archetype. And the Zephyra archetype basically incorporates other archetypes within it, so they can kind of be used with Zephyra or with their original archetype. So Zephyra Pilica, it's a pendulum monster. Don't worry about that. Basically, it's just another version of Laura. It has the same effect where if you normal summon it, you get the special one from the graveyard. The reason why we're running this, so you might ask, well, why not just run more than one Laura? Why run one of each? The key with this deck is you want to have as many Ritual Beasts with different names banished, because the more different unique cards that are banished, because each one can only be special summoned once per turn, you're going to have more turns you can cycle your combos if you have multiple with different names. Okay. Then we're going to run one copy of Spiritual Beast Apelio. He's really good. I sometimes run him at 2. Like, if you want to run him at 2, I'm not going to blame you, because he is pretty good. So he serves 2 purposes. One is he can increase the attack of all your monsters, but the real big thing that makes him valuable is he clears out your graveyard and gets your monsters banished. Because in this deck, you always want your monsters banished, which is going to give this deck a huge advantage over a lot of the meta decks. Because a lot of meta, they do not like banishing. So we can do some shenanigans with this deck to kind of play with that. But Apelio's effect is kind of unique. So he basically takes a banished Ritual Beast card. So it can be a spell, trap, or monster, doesn't matter what it is. And it banishes it from the graveyard, which you want. But then it gives all of your Ritual Beast a 500 attack and defense boost for the turn. And the thing is, you want to think of it as kind of like an aura or like a field effect. It's just constantly happening. So if Apelio leaves, the effect stays. if a monster is summoned later, they still get the 500 boost. It's kind of a cool, unique effect. And the other thing with Ritual Beast cards, I should tell you this, their effects are once per turn, but they're not hard once per turn. So what's cool is when you're cycling these fusion combos, right? So let's say you have Apelio and Laura out, right? You contact fuse into something and then do whatever you want to do with that fusion. Then you tag out and you bring Apelio back out. You can use the effect twice. So on the initial summon of Apelio, you use the effect send one, banish one, gain 500. Cycle it out to the fusion, summon Apelio back. When Apelio returns, he can do it again. So then you're giving your whole field a 1000 boost for the turn. Okay, this is going to be really busted when we look at Cannahawk in a minute. He's actually one of the better ones you can use. Apelio is another one I've also seen run at 2. So like I said, if you don't want to run 1, I think 2's decent. Spiritual Beast Petalfin, this is one that pretty much unanimously people run at 1. Petalfin isn't bad. It's basically a walking compulsory evacuation device, which is actually pretty cool. It just doesn't come into play as often, but you do want at least one Petalfin because you want a beast with a different name, right? Notice that all of the beast type monsters are called spiritual beast, and all of the humanoid types are called ritual beast tamers. So to do a lot of the fusions, you need one spiritual beast and one ritual beast tamer. We're going to talk about the naming in a minute because there's a monster that really affects this in a good way. So yeah, Petalfin is basically just you discard a card and you bounce something back to the hand. So it definitely can have its uses, right? Then we're going to play Spiritual Beast Cannahawk at 3. This one's really good because basically it's a walking gold sarcophagus. So in a lot of builds, you're going to notice my build actually doesn't run actual gold sarcophagus because I don't feel like you need it. It's almost overkill because with the 3 Cannahawks, you're getting gold sarcophagus effects all the time. And there's other things I can run in the deck. So if you look at this deck build and say, oh, he's a noob, why don't you run gold sarc in there? It's because you got 3 of them. You got 3 of them. And there's other things that we're going to run that you're going to find out that are actually really, really busted. So, but yeah, it's a gold sarcophagus. So you banish any card in your deck, and then after your second standbys, you get to add it to your hand. The thing with Ritual Beast, it's just a benefit to have something banished. So whether you even get to bring it to your hand later or not, doesn't matter. You're getting a monster with a different name banished. You can do more fusion combos. So that's kind of what you want to do with him. And then once again, Cannahawk, you can do more than once per turn because you summon it out, do it once. It's not a hard once per turn. You fusion something, cycle it back out, it'll come back out again. And if it's a new instance of that monster coming back, you can do that effect again. So very, very broken. It's something when I play in real life at locals, people always think I'm trying to cheat when I do that, but no, it's legit. It's not a hard once per turn. You can do it multiple times in a turn. As long as it hits the graveyard and it comes back, it resets. Spiritual Beast Rapengu. Rapengu is very good. I have it at 2 here, but this is one that some people will run at 3. Rapengu is very good for filling your graveyard and banished area. So basically what he does is you can banish a Ritual Beast monster from your extra deck, and then you send one Ritual Beast with the same type as that monster from your deck to the graveyard. So basically there will be like the dolphin version, there's like a fusion dolphin, right? The Apelio, there is a fusion version of him. So basically you banish the big fusion version and then you send the little monster version from your deck to the graveyard. The thing that's really cool about this though, because you want things banished, if you have something in play like say Macrocosmos that always banishes everything, if you use Rapengu's effect, both monsters will actually get banished, which is really, really good for the deck. So that's a really nice combo there. Rapengu's very good. Okay, and then the last Ritual Beast monster here we're going to talk about for the main deck is Spiritual Beast Tamer Winda. Now, Winda's got some amazing things going for her, and we're running this at 3, by the way. If you read her name, remember, the deck consists of Ritual Beast and Spiritual Beast Tamers. Well, her name is Spiritual Beast Tamer Winda. So the thing is we have Spiritual Beasts and Ritual Beast Tamers. So she is a spiritual beast tamer. So she contains both names, okay? So what that means is when you're doing contact fusion, she can work with either one. So you can fuse her with a spiritual beast, or you could fuse her with a ritual beast tamer, and it works. So that's one reason she's great, and one reason you want to run her at 3, just because she's like your go-to, because she'll combo with anything. The other thing that's amazing with her is if she's destroyed by an opponent's card by battle or card effect, she can summon any fusion monster from the extra deck, ignoring the summoning conditions, or she can just summon any ritual beast monster from the deck, which is really good. So she basically can grab you what you want. So if you want to grab a big beefy boy from the fusion deck for power, you can do that. Or if you want to, or if you're in a more technical situation and you want to say get a Rapengu to fill your graveyard, or you want to get a Petalfin to bounce something, you can do that. So she's a fantastic card. I definitely like her at 3. So that's it for the Ritual Beasts and Spiritual Beasts in the main deck. Now let's look at some of the other monsters we're running. So just kind of staple stuff. 3 Ash Blossom. I don't even need to say what she does. Everybody knows she's meta. So Ash Blossom is there. Then we're actually running 3 of Win the Wind Channeler. Win the Wind Channeler is a very common 3 of in Wind decks, because basically what she allows you to do is you discard her and another wind monster from your hand to search out any wind monster in your deck and add it to your hand. So she's very great for creating consistency. So if you kind of have a brick hand, but you have her and another wind, you can at least go into something you need. So this is where, like, if I want to grab Elder to get that extra normal summon, I can do that. If I want to get Winda to just like have a combo to go with another unit to fuse, anything like that, we can do that. If I want to get Rapengu to fill the grave, she can do that, right? She has another effect that you won't use as often, but basically if just a wind monster is destroyed, you can special summon her for free. She's at 1850 level 5. Honestly, that's kind of meh for the deck we're running. You basically want to use her just to search, which is good. Because the other thing is, once again, you're putting stuff in the graveyard, which some of your monsters can grab from the graveyard, or if, say, you have Macrocosmos or something in play, you're banishing both cards, which is great. So that's another, it's a really great card for that. All right, and then this bad boy, Dimension Shifter. This is definitely a 3 of. This is definitely one of the better meta hand traps in the game. So the big advantage Ritual Beast has, because the deck itself is honestly a little underwhelming. Like, it's not super meta breaking, but you can shock some decks. I think you can get some wins in Platinum with this, only because it's got so many anti-meta things in it, and Dimension Shifter is one of them. And the great thing about this, so Dimension Shifter, basically if you have no cards in your graveyard, you send it from your hand to the graveyard, and then until the end of the next turn, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. So some decks will play this and it might hurt your own deck, but at least shuts down your opponent turn 1. Because most people, if you Dimension Shifter, they're not even going to try to combo, because if stuff gets banished, it's going to ruin their day. So many decks depend on graveyard. They depend on things being sent to the graveyard. Sometimes, like, if you can't even send stuff to the graveyard, like, they can't even do their stuff because they're going to get banished, right? So Dimension Shifter is a really great play for this deck, but what's even better is this deck likes things being banished. So it's actually helping you. It's not just to, like, shut out your opponent, but it's also helping you. So 3 Dimension Shifters is huge. Okay, so the other card that's really going to help with this, so let's go to the spell lineup. We're going to play 1 Dimensional Fissure. So this is a continuous spell that basically all monsters are banished, and it's just constant for both sides. Once again, if your opponent sees this, or Macrocosmos turn 1, or Dimension Shifter, they might just give up the turn, right? And they might set and pass. But if you lay down Dimensional Fissure or Macrocosmos, and they do not have an out to it, many decks will scoop right there. Like, you'll just get a surrender. So that's kind of the power of the deck, is these really powerful anti-meta cards like Dimensional Fissure and Macrocosmos. Not only are they going to hurt a ton of decks in the meta, but they're helping your own deck, right? Then in the Spell and Trap lineup, we're also going to run 3 Pot of Prosperity. So once again, this is a fantastic card because you can banish 3 or 6 cards from your extra deck, and you get to choose, by the way. So I actually like this over Pot of Extravagance. Pot of Extravagance, you have to banish randomly, and then you draw. This deck is too dependent on the fusion deck. Like, I do not want a random chance that I lose all my combo pieces. So I like this because I select, because there's definitely enough wiggle room in my extra deck that I can banish stuff out and, like, still do all my combos, right? So I like this because you get to choose. Then you excavate that many cards and you can pick one and add it to your hand, and then the rest go to the bottom of your deck. You only do half damage for the turn, but Ritual Beast is not an OTK deck. Like, you're not going to do 8k damage in a turn anyways. It's meant to set up, like, a very good field and kind of take a couple of turns to take the opponent out, okay? So Pot of Prosperity at 3 is great because those cards you're banishing from those extra deck, they can actually help you in your combos, because a card that we see later actually wants stuff to be able to take from the banish zone and shuffle into the graveyard to search your deck. So this is very, very helpful for that. So I like that in here. Emergency Teleport, definitely at 2. In the TCG right now, it is actually at 3. So once again, if Master Duel goes to 3, I would maybe consider running this at 3. Remember what I said, the big thing with the deck is you need to get 2 monsters out. And other than Elder, and then later on we'll see there's a Link monster that helps with that too, but other than those 2 cards, it's very hard just to, like, throw down 2 monsters. So Teleport is just a way to extend. So let's say I got a Spiritual Beast, let's say I have Apelio, I can summon Apelio, pop a Teleport, all my humanoid Ritual Beast Tamers are all psychic types, so I can just summon one of those, and then I can start fusing. So basically, you just need this to get an extra body to start fusing. So that one's really important there. Ritual Beast Return, I'm just playing this at 1. Basically, you banish a Ritual Beast monster from your hand and then target one of your Ritual Beast monsters that is banished or in your graveyard and special summon it. So once again, this is just an easy way to get an extra body on the field. Let's say this is turn 1, right? And you have 2 Ritual Beasts in your hand but not Tamer. You can normal summon one of them. You can play this one, banish the one from your hand, and then just summon it right back. So you can actually summon the card you banished with this from hand. So it's literally just a way to get a free body out once again to get your combos. There are other things you can do with it. It is a quick play, so you can set it, play it on your opponent's turn, try to help your combos out that way. But I like it at 1 just as an extra way to get a body on the field. Ritual Beast Steeds. Now we're moving on to the trap card lineup. Ritual Beast Steeds, I'm going to play that at 2. I think you definitely could justify running this at 3. I just needed to make room for some other things. But this is one of the more powerful cards. The reason why I think you can get away running it at 2 is because it's very searchable. Like, all the Ritual Beast cards are very searchable. So you're going to have access to it. There's very few matches that you're actually going to use 3 of these in one match. So because it's searchable, I think 2 is fine. It's a very simple trap card. You just play it. You destroy as many of your opponent's monsters up to the number of Ritual Beasts you control. So the main way you use this is, let's say you end your turn with a big fusion on the field, right? And then it's your opponent's turn. What you can do is you can quick effect defuse your fusion monster and then get 2 monsters on the field, and then you can pop this to pop off 2 monsters because now you have 2 bodies on the field instead of 1. So it's a very good card for just popping monsters. And then we have Ritual Beast Ambush. I am running this at 2 as well. I have seen builds with this at 3 also. This basically is like a Call of the Haunted, but you get to get 2 Spiritual Beast or Ritual Beast monsters from your graveyard or banished area. So this is really great because you can grab them from either one. And they don't both have to come from the same place. So you can grab one from grave, one from banished. And then once again, you do this to bring out your monsters, and then you can pop off a fusion. Just so you guys know, the best time to play this card, because remember, Ritual Beasts can only be special summoned once per turn. So you want to, when you want to play this is during your opponent's end phase. So you have it set, you get through the opponent's turn, they go to end phase, you play this, they're in end phase, so you know they can't attack you, right? You bring out the 2 monsters, then it goes to your turn. Because they were technically summoned during your opponent's turn, when you're starting your turn fresh, they have now not been special summoned. So now you could fuse into something, unfuse, bring them back, and start doing your combos again. So just keep that in mind. Play this during the end phase if possible. Sometimes, if you're desperate, you might have to use it to block an attack. If you got to do it, you got to do it, right? Just a little bit more meta here. We'll play 3 Infinite Impermanence, and then we're going to run the 1 Macrocosmos. I know I was mentioning this card earlier. Macrocosmos is a continuous trap that just makes it so every card is banished. Spells, traps, monsters, everything. The only difference between this and Dimensional Fissure only does monsters, but that's fine. Like, monsters are the big thing you want to banish anyways. So I think 1 Macrocosmos, 1 Fissure, and then the 3D shifters are going to just mess your opponent's day up. So that's really the way the deck wins. It's more disrupting your opponent's strategy while then getting your fusions and kind of poking away at them, right? This isn't a deck, like I said, that's going to OTK and like overwhelm your opponent, but it is going to piss them off. It's basically what it's going to do, right? So that's basically the main deck lineup there. So let's go to the extra deck really quick. So the first fusion is Ritual Beast Ulti Apelio. So this is the Lion version, the Apelio version. I've got this at 3 right now. If you want more room in your extra deck, you don't have to run this at 3. I think 2 is probably fine for this. Basically, this is your main attacker when you want to do damage. It's basically a 2600 beat stick, but during the battle phase, it's unaffected by other card effects. So, you know, you can't mirror force it. You can't do stuff like that during the battle phase. So that's kind of cool there. So he's just coming out to do some attacks, basically. Okay. And then keep in mind, I'll just talk about this again in general. All of the fusions have this effect, whereas a quick effect, you can defuse and special summon one Spiritual Beast and then 1 Ritual Beast Tamer from your banish zone to the field in defense position as a quick effect. So that means during your turn or the opponent's turn, which is very useful, right? Because let's say your opponent plays a card and they target this card to like destroy it or take control of it, or they want to Book of Moon it, like anything that they're just trying to target that card, you chain it as a quick effect. You send it back to the extra deck. You summon out your 2 monsters that were banished. The original target of your opponent's spell and trap is now gone, and it fizzles. So the defusing is actually a way to like stop your opponent from targeting them. It's very, very good. So that's another benefit of it. And then once again, you're setting up like your next turn. Ritual Beast Ulti Petalfin, we're going to play at 1. This is the Dolphin version. Basically, it's just a big defender. So 2800 defense. It cannot be destroyed by card effects. So it's very tanky and can't be destroyed by card effects. So basically, like, if you're ending your turn, like after attacking, this is normally what I'll throw down just to like defend. So what you can do, for example, is you fusion out a Pelio, do your attack, defuse, and then when they come back, you fuse back into this, and then it's sitting there defensively so that you got your defense up, right? So you only need that at 1, though. It's not something you go into a ton. The thing is these monsters, they keep going back and forth, like they keep bouncing. So unless your opponent finds a way to truly destroy it, they're always going to be available to you in the extra deck, right? All right, and then this is the MVP of the extra deck. This is Ritual Beast Ulti Canahawk. This is a card that had been limited to 1 for a long time because Ritual Beast used to be top tier when they first dropped out. I think them and Necroz, they dropped at the same time and they were both pretty top tier. So this guy had been limited to 1 for a long time, but it's at 3 now. And this is the MVP. This is usually the first thing you want to go to if you have the right setup. So basically what it does, it's only got 1400 attack. But what you can do is basically you take 2 of your banished Ritual Beast monsters and you send them to the graveyard. You search your deck for any Ritual Beast card and add it to your hand, which is really powerful. So that's why you saw we had so many like emergency teleport, the wind channel, or like so many things just to get us into something that can extend our turn to get us to this. Because the goal is you want to get to Canahawk, search your deck for something. So you might get steeds, you might get ambushed because you can get your traps. That's usually what you're doing, is kind of setting up your field to block your opponent. Or you can just grab a really important piece you need for later. It could be a monster, right? Whatever you want. So the main combo you do is you want to be able to fuse into this turn 1 while having another card in your graveyard or in your banner zone, right? So for example, if you play Rapengu, you use Rapengu's effect to basically take one of your fusion monsters and banish it, and then you send one to the grave, right? So that fusion monster is sitting in there banished. Then you take your 2 monsters on the field, fuse into Canahawk, right? So you've got Canahawk out, and then in your banish zone, you're gonna have 2 of your normal like level 4 Ritual Beast, Spiritual Beast Tamers, whatever, and then you're gonna have the fusion in there. So this guy has kind of a weird loophole combo that you can get around. So normally it's bad to empty out your banish zone, right? Like the general rule with Ritual Beast is you want to try to keep at least 1 Spiritual Beast and 1 Ritual Beast Tamer banished at all times, because you always have the option to tag out. So you want to keep that going, right? So if you just summon this with 2 monsters and then send those both to the grave, that's great. You can do that, but then now this is sitting on the field and it can't tag out and it's a sitting duck, right? So the reason why Rapengu is so important is if you have that 3rd card banished, that fusion monster, right? What you do is you activate his effect and you say that you pick one of your normal level 4 Ritual Beast monsters, and then you actually target the fusion, because the fusion monsters can be shuffled into the deck to use this effect, right? So you target one of the level 4s, you target the fusion. Then you can actually chain his other effect to himself that will put himself back in the extra deck, and then you choose 2 Ritual Beasts that are banished to summon out to the field. So then what you do is you pick your other level 4 that you didn't target yet, and then you pick the one that you did target for the first effect. What happens is that effect goes off first, it summons your 2 level 4 Ritual Beasts out to the field, and then the fusion still gets shuffled in or sent to the graveyard, and then you are still allowed to search. So the way this card works, as long as at least one of the first 2 cards you target still gets sent to the graveyard, it still allows you to search. It's another one of those weird loophole things that anytime you do it in real life at a tournament, people always question it, but it works. You can try it out on Master Duel. What I'll do at the end when I'm doing gameplay, I'll actually demo it for you and show you, but it's legit. So then what happens is you preserve your combo of having your fusions going and you still get the search off. So that's the ideal situation. You have Canahawk out, 3 monsters in the graveyard, are in the banish zone, and then you can pop off this combo. So then what happens is, let's say you search for steeds, so you grab steeds, and then you can set that to your field and have that ready for next turn. And then what you do is with your 2 monsters on the field, you go into, say, the defender Ritual Beast, right? Your big dolphin, your big bad dolphin. Put your big bad dolphin out in defense mode. Now your combo's done because those were 2 special summons, so you can't tag out again on your turn. Pass your turn, go to your opponent's turn. The moment it's your opponent's turn, now you have the option to tag again. Let's say your opponent summons 2 monsters now, they're setting up for an Arkhice play. Okay, I'm going to quick effect tag out my big bad dolphin, and then I'm going to bring out my 2 monsters. Hey, I got 2 bodies on the field. Now I'm going to chain steeds to that. I'm going to pop your 2 monsters. You're going to Arkhice summon. Bam, their turn is done. Their stuff is maybe getting banished because you have Macrocosmos or something. Your opponent's just frustrated all heck. They pass turn, and then you're free to go ahead and just beat them down, right? So that's basically the gist of what you're doing there. So sorry that was a long explanation on Canaanhawk, but that was needed, right? Okay, so we're still actually going through the deck profile here. So now we have Ritual Beast, Ulti, Gaia, Pelio. This guy at 2 is probably fine. He's a 3200. He's like your big beat stick. He's a little bit tougher to do a traditional summon for. So you have to have 1 Ritual Beast Ulti monster, which is like one of the fusions or the Link monster. You have to have a Beast Tamer and a Beast. So you have to have 3 monsters to summon him, okay? And then during either player's turn, when a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, you can banish a Ritual Beast card from your hand, negate the activation, destroy it. So that's very, very powerful, right? However, it has to be summoned properly to do that. So one of the ways I actually use this guy is with Winda, who we talked about earlier. Winda can summon anything from the extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So with Winda, sometimes you'll just grab this guy to have a 3200 beat stick. It's going to be a vanilla beat stick though, because since it wasn't summoned properly, it won't get that full effect. But if you actually do summon it properly, it's a pretty good card. So it's very nice. And the other thing that's nice about it, it is psychic type. So when you're using Rapengu, you can target this to banish, and then you can choose any of your psychics, which is any of those humanoids, and you can put those into the graveyard instead to just get more food out there, right? So he's really good for that as well. And then the last Ritual Beast extra deck monster here is Ritual Beast Ulti, Kimoon Falcos. Part of the reason I like Ritual Beast, by the way, is because they're like a combination of like Gustos, which are like one of my favorite archetypes, which there should be a profile on Gustos on 5.9, so check that one out if you haven't. Basically, this is just one of your extenders. So what's cool about this one is you can link it with just any 2 Ritual Beasts. So you don't have to have a Spiritual Beast and a Tamer. You could do 2 Spiritual Beasts or 2 Tamers. So this is a card you can go to if you're kind of like locked out because you have the wrong typings. You can at least get to this. And so what this does is when it's summoned, you can banish a card in your graveyard, which is good. That's helpful, right? Because you want stuff banished. But then you can immediately after that normal summon another one from your hand. So it's going to get you an extra body on the field that you need. Anything it's pointing to is going to gain 600. But typically what you're going to do is you're going to summon this, banish something in your grave. You're going to normal summon something extra from your hand. And then this also has the ability to tag out. So then you're going to tag this out, put 2 more out. Now you got 3 monsters on the field. So now once again, then you fuse into something else and start doing your combos there. So that's what Ulti Kimoon Falcos is for. And then we're going to go into the non-Ritual Beast. So do not underestimate Lightning Chidori. I still feel like Lightning Chidori is one of the best Xyzs in the game. Any deck that can run rank 4 Xyz Wind, you got to run Lightning Chidori. So like in Harpy builds, you run this guy at like 3. He's very good, 2 or 3, something like that. But we only run 1 here because most of the time we want to go into fusions, but once in a while you want to Xyz into this guy. So if this card is XYZ summoned, you target 1 set card your opponent controls, return it to the bottom of the deck, and then you can also detach and choose a face-up card and return it to the top of the deck. This is really good because it's not destroying, which a lot of cards can get around destruction or get effects on destruction. So the fact that it's just putting it into the deck is very, very nice. They could also have a card on the field that like you can put on the top of their deck and then you know what they're going to draw, and it might be something that won't help them on the next turn. So that's really nice as well. And then some other link options. Basically, you can just run like a little Nightmare package if you want to, just because they're generic. So you can do a Unicorn, a Nightmare Phoenix, and a Nightmare Cerberus, just to have that little package in there, because once again, there's something you can get with just 2 monsters with different names. So once again, if you're locked out of doing your fusions because you have the wrong typings, that's just another thing you can go into, right? So anyways, there you go, guys. There is the deck list for Ritual Beast with a little bit of explanation. What we'll do now is I'm going to do a cut here, and then we'll go into some gameplay. All right, guys, so we are in a match here, and so we can see some of this Ritual Beast shenanigans happen like in person here, right? So you can see here, we kind of got shafted, right? Because we have Canaanhawk and we have Petalfin. They're both spiritual beasts. We can't summon more than one in a turn. Not much we can do, but this is where Channeler comes into place. So we got Channeler rolling, which really helps us out. So what we're going to do is, first I'm just going to set this imperm, so it's going to keep asking me if I want to play it. All right, so now what we do is activate Channeler. And then what we can do is we can drop Petalfin to the grave, because Petalfin's probably the one we're not going to want as much. And then now we can go ahead and we can grab Elder. So now we've solved two problems here. Now we've got a spiritual beast and a ritual beast, and we can do two summons. So we're going to go ahead and summon Elder. And then Elder is going to let me summon Cannahawk. Okay. And then this ritual beast ambush, we're going to set that. And then Cannahawk now can banish a card. So we're going to go ahead and banish a card. And once again, we want to pick something that we basically just want banished to have as food. Usually one of the first banishes I'll do, we could do Rapengu actually, because then we could get Rapengu's effect off. So I think that's what we're going to do, because then that's going to give us more food. So let's banish Rapengu. So let's go ahead and do that. So Rapengu's banished. Now remember, this is a gold Sark effect. So Rapengu would actually come to our hand, but we're not going to even utilize that. So what we're going to do is this. We are going to special summon. And what we're going to do is let's special summon Cannahawk. Okay, so we're going to select that. We're going to get Cannahawk. So we're going to banish two of these guys away, like that. Okay, and then we're going to do attack position. Okay, so now we're going to do the funky wonky combo here, where we kind of cheat the game a little bit, but it's a legit play. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to activate Cannahawk's effect. And what we want to do is we want to activate effect 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to target 2 banished Ritual Beast cards to shuffle into the graveyard to search our deck for a Ritual Beast card. So we're going to say, okay. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure you pick 1 Tamer and 1 Beast. And you want to make sure, well, actually, no. We want to pick, basically you want to pick one of the cards you want to summon and then the other one that you want to go to the graveyard to just leave. So what we want to do is let's go ahead. We're going to pick Cannahawk and Rapengu. We're going to pick those two. That should be fine. So we're going to choose both of those to get banished, basically. So we're going to select that. Okay. Now, here's what happens. We chain our own effects. So we can chain Cannahawk again. And we're going to do effect 2 now to summon to the field. So now what we do is we can take our Elder. And then we can take Rapengu. So we're going to grab Elder. And we're going to grab Rapengu. Now remember, Rapengu is one of the ones we picked to banish. But what's happening is because our Chain Link 2 is going to go off first, it's actually going to get summoned to the field before it's banished. So now what happens is I keep my play intact. You can see here now I've got 2 monsters on the field. And then Cannahawk, because 1 still gets sent to the graveyard there, we still get the effect. Now I search my deck for whatever I want, right? So there's a couple of plays here. So typically I'm going to go into like Steeds or Ambush. So I could do Ambush if I want to get like another summon out and have more monsters. I'm going to do the Steeds play because this is usually what I like to do. So I'm going to grab Steeds. Now we can set Steeds. And now with Rapengu, we can do Rapengu's effect. And right now I've got few engrave and none banished. So we're going to activate Rapengu. And then Rapengu, basically what you want to do is, remember, you're going to banish the fusion monster and you're going to send the baby version of that from the deck to the graveyard, right? So like I don't have Apelio in play yet, so what I can do is let's go ahead and do that. Well, actually I should get Winda. Yeah, I should probably get Winda. So let's do the Link monster. So we're going to banish that, and then I'm going to take this Winda, and we're going to send that to the grave, because now Winda's floating around and we can do stuff with Winda and she's really good. Now before I end my turn, since I can't attack, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up with my big beefy dolphin. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we're going to put big beefy dolphin down. Okay, and we'll put that in defense mode. And this is kind of a standard starting turn now. But you see, face down, I have Imperm just because I happen to draw that. I also drew an ambush, so I have that already. And now I've got a Steeds down. Okay, so now I'm going to end turn. So let's see what the opponent does, and we'll see how we want to react to that. Now keep in mind, I have a quick effect here, right? So I can just transform or tag out whenever I want. Okay, so let's summon something. Let's see what the effect is. Oh yeah, of course it's going to be a Trap Trick Steal. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to activate my effect here, and I'm just going to tag out. So now I'm going to bring out these 2 monsters. The reason why I'm going to tag out is because I'm pretty sure they're going to go into another monster here. We'll see. So I'm not going to chain anything else to that. Okay, so now we're going to bring out 2 monsters. Like that, and like that. Okay, so let's see what the opponent does. Yep, they're doing Trap Trick shenanigans. So now they're going to go to battle phase. So on battle phase, all I have to do now is I can just Steeds. So if he had summoned another monster, I could have popped both. But that's okay. And then I'll just pop that. Okay, and then I'm going to just finish there. Okay, and so now we cleared field. Now they've got 2 traps down, but I've got nothing else to do here. Okay, yeah, actually what I might do is end of turn, we could do an ambush, sure. Because if we do ambush end of turn, this summon counts at end of turn and it's not technically a special summon. And we're also, the nice thing about this too is we're fetching them from the graveyard. So now when we fuse with them, they're going to get banished and it's adding more food to our banish zone. And so anytime you can special them, you want to do that end of turn. Now we've got Laura, which if I have any engrave, which I do, I have a Petalfin engrave still. So Laura is going to be able to get a summon off. So now we can just do all kinds of crazy shenanigans, right? So Rapengu, we can activate that. Sure, let's get my Apelio in there. Yep, and then we'll do Apelio. Okay, we can do Canahawk to banish. And all you're trying to do here is you want to do as many different named monsters as possible. So you want to get things that you haven't used. So here, Zephyr Pilica, we haven't used that yet. Sure, let's get that in there. So now we've got all this food and all this stuff to play with, right? So sure, let's go back into Canahawk. We're just going to pick 2 of them here. So sure, let's go with this and this. Okay, and then Canahawk will come out like this. All right, so they're going to hit me with a trap. So let's see what this trap does. When you summon a monster, change that to face down defense position. Okay, so he's going to try to change me to face down defense position. So I can quick effect that. That's fine. You try to target me, I'll just tag back out. Okay, so let's tag out. And this is awesome. See, this is why like Ritual Beasts are kind of hard to hit. Okay, so now we've tagged back out. So this is going to resolve. We're going to do this, and we're going to do this. Now here's the cool thing. Ritual Beasts are not hard once per turn. We already used this Canahawk. Look, we can do it again. Let's just banish something else while we're at it. Okay, so let's go ahead and banish out. Oh, what do we not have? Oh, we don't have Wen yet. Sure, let's banish a Wen out. Okay, so that's basically the gist of it, guys, right? So let's try to fusion again. So sure, let's go into Canahawk again. As long as we can keep like recycling stuff, we can just keep doing this, right? So this is where you want to have a large roster banished, because as long as they haven't been special, you can keep tagging in and out like crazy. So let's do this combo again, right? So yep, let's do effect 1, and then we have to pick 2. So what I recommend doing, well, here's the thing, we don't even have to do like the crazy trick here. We can just, since I have 2 extra deck monsters, we can just shuffle those in straight out. So let's just shuffle those in. We don't care. We don't have to do the funky combo. And then let's go ahead and pick a card to add to our hand. And sure, let's grab another steed so we have one for the next turn if we need it, right? Okay, so we can set steeds. We have a little bit of defense there. Let's take these 2 guys. Sure, let's go into a beefy attack boy. We'll do this. We'll do this. Sure, and let's do this. Okay. And they bottomless me. Okay, guess what I can do? I can tag out. So you can see we tag out. Now we can just bring 2 back out. So we just keep comboing like crazy. Oh, look at this. Rapengu's coming back. No, I will not chain that. Okay. So this is where it gets wild, right? Okay, so this comes out. This comes out. Oh, look. Bottomless fizzles. Target is gone. Rapengu, we can do this shenanigans again. So sure, let's do this. And then let's find another. Sure, we don't have one of you in there yet, I don't think. Maybe we do. Okay, so we'll do that. Now we've got Laura just sitting here. So Laura's going to summon. She can grab one from graveyard. Sure, let's bring out another one. And sure, let's go with the Pelio. We haven't used the Pelio yet. So we'll go attack position like that. Perfect. Apelio's effect. We're going to take one from the grave and we're going to banish it. So let's go ahead and banish that. Now they all get a 500 boost. Let's go ahead and fuse into something else. Let's go back into this guy. So you guys see how kind of cool this is? Like you can just keep recycling these fusions. The quick effect tag out is actually so valuable. I think people don't realize like how good that is. And then sure, let's just go into a battle phase here and see if they got any hand traps for me. Okay, attack, attack, attack. Laura's not doing much damage for me. That's okay though. So yeah, we basically almost had game there. So anyways, guys, that's kind of the gist of the combos. And then next turn we're set up, right? Steeds to destroy something. We have Imperm to negate an effect. So anyways, guys, there you go. Thanks for watching this video over on 5-9. Hopefully we'll see you on the next one.